We know that reflection is crucial in the process of learning, and so to support successful learning, we need to give students opportunities for reflecting on how well they are doing in relation to their goals. This is because we don't actually learn from experiences themselves, we learn from reflecting on these experiences. Feedback is one of the ways in which we can create these opportunities for reflection. We know that students benefit most from feedback when they are active participants in it, because we generally learn best when we try to put into words how we felt about a learning experience, about what happened during this learning experience, and how it helped us move forward. And this is, of course, reflection. Reflection is also a way of getting feedback on student learning. One way of finding out how students are doing in terms of their learning is getting them to reflect by, for example, asking them to finish sentences or by asking them to answer open-ended questions at the end of the lesson. So ideally, feedback includes reflection on the learning experience. And this is true about both the feedback that we give to students, but also about the feedback that we want to get on student learning. One of the most important reasons for teachers to educate students about ways to engage with feedback is that active participation on the side of the feedback receiver is a kind of guarantee of students benefiting from feedback most. Remember that we learn best by talking about our experiences, by trying to put into words how the learning experience has affected us, by making the effort to communicate our thoughts about this experience to the other person, in this case, the feedback giver. We also need to remember that learning happens not because of an experience, but because you take the time and the effort to actively reflect on that experience. And as we know, reflection is an essential part of good feedback. But what is equally important is to ensure that our students know that participating actively is a choice and that no one is going to force them to reflect if they're not ready to do it. I believe that talking to students about how they can engage with feedback and why it's a good idea to do it helps students become more aware learners, more independent learners, and in the long run, to become effective, lifelong learners. Feedback is a communication skill which is always governed by the same principles, no matter if we give feedback in the classroom or outside the classroom. If we're talking about educational context alone, it also doesn't matter if it's feedback given by a teacher to their colleague, another teacher, or peer feedback between students, or feedback between the teacher and the student. The aim of feedback is always to provide an opportunity for the feedback receiver to look into a mirror in a way, and to allow this person to see what they do or what they did well and what they can do to further improve their performance. Feedback always needs to be efficient. If we don't prioritize and choose the most important things that we want to focus on, we risk getting lost in details. And finally, feedback should take into account the fact that we have some kind of a relationship with the person that we give it to, and that this relationship should not suffer as a result of feedback. This means that working on your feedback giving skills in one context, for example in your job, actually means that you work on something much more general, your feedback giving skills as a life skill.